In this video, I'm going to show you how I build a template, use scripting, and have it auto-populate with your Google Sheets. So I just realized I have Epic that I would like to put on my login sheet. So I am going to zoom in to this area that I have created space for from Epic. And the way that I've grabbed all of these, I did this because I want the kids it to look just like it does for the kids. So I'm going to grab the student login information here. So I am on a Windows machine, so I use Shift, the Windows key, and the letter S all together. It will bring up my snipping tool, and then I click and drag over the area that I want selected and go back and insert that. Oh, it put a border on that, so I want that border to be transparent. And then I'm going to just scale it down to fit that space. So what I will end up doing is I will end up putting the class code right over this. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab an Epic image. And I just asked for a transparent image. So when I clicked on this one, if you see the checkered in the background, it's not going to end up being the transparent image that you want. Here it doesn't show the background, but when I click on it, it does show the checker. So I'm going to copy this image and I am going to insert that image here. Control V, paste, and then scale it down. All right, so the next thing I have to do is I need to know what my class code is. So, and I need the scripting for this. So I'm going to add a text box right over this class code. And I'm going to use the end brackets that look like this. And I'm going to put Epic code and end brackets. Now that Epic code is only going to be like 6 letters long, so because it goes to the next line, it's not really that big of a deal. Your size, your script, your font that you indicate here, is going to be the size and the font that it will print in or produce in. So I am going to use the Comic Sans font, and I'm going to make this size 20. Okay, and then I have the rest of it set up, scripted the way I'd like it. I will go and create a Google Sheet. You're going to need, I'm going to double screen here. Whatever you named these, you need it named over here. So this information in yellow here is all stuff that I can pull from my PowerSchool, whatever LMS you're using. That is where you might want to pull that information from. And then as I go across, I have some coding going on behind it to pull from this information. So I'm not having to retype it every time, but that it's naturally pulling from the information. The problem that I encountered is that all of these different programs that we were using had different usernames and passwords. So some of them used part of their first name, part of their last name. So I used some different concatenate formulas to be able to do that. Let me show you an example of one concatenate formula. So here's an example. It uses the last name, the first two of the first name, and their two numbers. But I also need an R, capital R at the beginning of every student and a little W at the end. So this formula is concatenate because it's going to be using 3 of them. The R I'm going to put in parentheses, and then it's going to pull from cell I2. And then I need the little letter W at the end, so it's going to be in parentheses, and I hit enter. So then when I have another student here, so this formula here was a concatenate formula also, so it's pulling from cell A2. I'm needing a space, so you use the quotation marks, a space, and then the end quotation marks, and then the B2. And so then when I pull this information down, it's going to pull from A2 and B2 equally there. And then let's go back and look. So I have the E2 formula here. So once again, when I pull down, it's going to auto-populate that. D2, auto-populate. C2, pull down, auto-populate. And so when you're pulling your whole class list in, it makes it a lot easier to pull down that information quickly. So right back to this, and there that concatenate formula is. Okay, so then the next step after you have all your information entered in there is you're going to go to add-ons. You might have to get this add-on, but it's Autocrat. So I'm going to click launch. So once again, as that's launching, the username that you have here, it has to be exactly matching this information here. So same capitals. And so the information Google username, it's going to be pulling from this column to fill this information. I'm going to edit this. This information is coming up from another slide that I had used. So I'm just going to call it login cards. Next. And where am I going to find this? So this one is called training login. So I need to go and find that. I'm going to go for my drive. There it is. And then I'm going to say it's fetching the tags, so all of those headings that you have. And then I'm going to say next. And it naturally pulled and recognized all of these different ones. There's one that it didn't recognize, so I have to go and find that. And it's this EPIC code. And see, here's why it didn't naturally pull it. I didn't name it the same EPIC class code, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and now it will map it to that. Now, next, I'm going to have it create a file where I'm going to use the student name again and the login card. So when it creates the file, it's going to create the file as student name and login card. Then the output type I want is a PDF. You could have it a Google slide if you want the chance to edit it later, which you might go ahead and do that, but for now I'm going to say PDF. Now the difference here, this took me a little while to figure out, the multiple output is going to be one for each student. If you put single output, you're going to get one document with every single student. I needed this multiple output because when the COVID outbreak happened, I needed to individually email those to parents, and I didn't want to have every student or every parent get every single student's output. So that's kind of the difference between the two. And you're going to say next. You're going to choose where this is going to go. It's going to make me choose one of those. So we'll just leave it here and next, and next, and next. And we don't need to share this document, and I don't have any triggers that I need to run on this form. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now I'm going to click play or run my job. Takes just a moment, especially if you have a long list of students that it's merging the data from. All right, and the job is run. So now when I come out here and I go to the end of my sheet, it has just created these merged documents, and this is then where you're going to find those cards. So let's take a look. So one thing I look for is making sure that everything fits within my area. So here, this was a little low, so I would want to go back to this here, zoom in. And I'm going to raise that up a little bit so that it fits within that square better. Let's see, was there anything else? Everything else fit in the space. I didn't have anything entered here, so even though there was the scripting for it, because I left that cell blank, it didn't feed any information into there. So I am going to go back. Since that one wasn't right, I'm going to delete the information out of here. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to my add-ons, Autocrat Launch. And I'm just going to click play again. And look at it one more time. Everything's fitting the space like I'd like it to. And so therefore I'm done. Another way that I use scripting is for the computer logins in my computer lab. So I've set up this template. I have the student name, the teacher, the username, and the password. And so when I go back to this, I had created a second tab at the bottom, this one called login cards. The only thing I really did differently with this one was added the teacher name. So now I'm going to go to my add-ons and go to Autocrat and open and edit. I'm going to call this one computer login cards. And I'm going to pull this one. Its title was keyboarding with scripting, and next. And notice here in the merge tab, there is a variety of different sheets. So because I added the teacher name to this one, I'm going to use the login cards. And that included the teacher name. So there's no unmapped tags. And I'm going to say next. And in this case, I'm going to use Google Slides. That way, if a name was too long to fit the space, I can change and edit it. And I'm also going to use a single output mode because I want all of the login cards to go to one document. Then I'm going to hit save and I'm going to hit play. Now, remember, if you were to have created something in this sheet 1 and you duplicated it and then went into that login card, had created something in sheet 1 and created an Autocrat with it, you'd need to remember to delete the previous Autocrat from the end of this scripting. Otherwise, it will not run the scripting for you. So here we go to the end, and there is my sheet. So this is what I'm talking about, making sure you delete it before you try to run another one. There's the login card in Google Slides. It's editable, and there are my two. So then I'm going to go ahead and go File, and I'm going to go to Print Settings and Preview, and I'm going to go to Handout with 4 slides. And this is a way that I print mine for the computer lab and cut them in 4s and then have them out for each computer. Hope that helped.